Hello, everybody. I am so thrilled and happy today because we have Greshma Momaya with us today. She's an absolute expert when it comes to pre-primary, and all experts don't like to call themselves an expert, right? So she's been working in the field of curriculum development, early childhood development. She's been part of the school, the Trio World School in Bangalore, and such a beautiful school, a school that I walk into and I see all the learning that is happening. Learning is visible on the walls over here. And I can only tell how beautifully the children have a wonderful experience in the school. So, Greshma, I'm so glad that you've taken this time out. You've invited us to your school, such a beautiful place. And I can see that you have a great team that is putting together, exceptional opportunities for children to learn and develop. Go ahead and tell us something about yourself. Who are you? What did you learn? Where do you come from? Are you from Bangalore or any context that you'd like to set for the conversation today?
Okay, so I think we have something in common. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai and moved to Bangalore. Studied there, worked there in schools, and then moved to Bangalore, worked here in school. Different experience because I think every city has a different experience that they give you, and even the schools work very differently in different cities. So did couple of courses after coming to Bangalore. Did my certification from Harvard in school leadership. Lot of learning happened in last 10 years, and then joined this organization and lot of learning opportunities. And I think along with the school, I have evolved as a person. I evolved as an educator. And as you said, yes, learning are clearly visible on the wall, because I think I'm blessed to work with an amazing team of teachers and coordinators, and they really, again, along with me, they have also evolved, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a wonderful experience working in Mumbai and in Bangalore so far.
I really want to understand this, right? Because so many schools today are struggling with communicating what education means, right? And many of them use proxies to communicate what good quality education means. Some of them say, okay, a great playground is good quality education, or a big fancy building is good quality education. But what people, when they come to take admission, most of the time parents have children who are 3 years old, 4 years old, and they join an early learning program, and they are thinking about the early learning program from the perspective of 10th standard.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I've always wondered, how do I talk to parents and say, how do you select an early learning program? And what is actually happening in the child's brain in an early learning program? What does an early learning program look like? I fail to communicate many a times. And also I want to be able to, explain to a parent that what is the goals of that early learning. The reason is because most of them say only one thing. Oh, thoda khelega, thoda social development. That's all they think.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they miss the point in many ways. Any ideas around that?
Yeah, one thing is that I think especially pre-primary teachers are considered more as babysitters or daycare teachers who are only going to change diapers and all that. I think that perspective over the years have now changed. I think people, even the parents, have become a little more aware of the different educational approaches. And I can say that because when we started the school, I remember we've completed first year, and when we were getting into the second year, I met, we had 120 children, and I met every parent, when they came for admission. Because what happens that when parents see that, someone who is sitting here, who is heading the place, knows what they are doing. See, infrastructure is important. I would not deny it, because as you enter the school, you should get that feeling, the warm feeling, like wow, kind of a thing. But once they've come inside the school, then what? If you don't have a strong team of teachers, you don't have a good curriculum in place, you do not have good policymakers in place, then what will you do with the infrastructure?
Exactly.
Right? So I think I met every parent, because I think gaining confidence of parents is also so important. And as I keep meeting the parents, I've realized that they have become more aware of the importance of pre-primary education, and they know what Montessori is to an extent. They know what multiple intelligence is. Now schools cannot fool parents around.
Right.
Yeah, so you need someone, or you need in your team, like even the admission team. Now after a point it becomes difficult for the school leaders to meet the parents, and it's very obvious. But even the admission team who is meeting the parents should have that idea that okay, our school, apart from infrastructure and facilities, what is the core of a curriculum, what are we actually doing? Moreover, what are the beliefs that a school has, like every school has some belief. What is, so like when we take any decision in the school, we keep it, I think it's nice for school leaders, instead of making parents happy, teachers happy, management happy, if we keep the learner at the center point, I think all your decisions will always be right. In that, some stakeholder might be unhappy, but I think the focus when it's on children, I think you are
That's
on the
such a
right track.
valid point, because somebody told me, look, Willie, you're never going to be able to keep everybody happy all the time. As long as more people are happy than unhappy on any given point in time, you're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're keeping everyone happy, then you're doing something wrong, because that's the highest common factor.
Correct.
And the highest common factor technically is not ideal or suitable for any one particular reference group in that
Yeah.
group. What do you think are some of the questions that I keep asking myself is, what do you think, or rather, what do I think, or what do you think, or what do we think that India is getting right in its early education? You think there is something we're doing really well?
It is getting better, I would say. But still, somewhere the focus is more on academics still, whatever said and done. But I think we all, as educators, are getting more aware, attending different workshops, conferences, reading different people's, books. You get to know, you understand that what we are doing wrong, For example, we still start writing in nursery, like many schools still do it. But can we start it once they feel ready for it, I think readiness philosophy is very important. Understanding whether the child is ready or not for any kind of activity or any kind of development, that is more important. And we are getting there, India is getting there. There is a lot of awareness that I think many educators are spreading that, okay, let's do writing later for small things. Like I attended a workshop, and it was a very, very eye-opener for me, where they said, we all, in the workbook or in a worksheet, we always highlight the mistakes of the children, right? And we do it with a red pen, which is like, okay. And then children don't like that, So can we change that a bit, instead of just highlighting, we say, right? Even in positive thinking, we always say that we don't highlight on the negatives. Let's focus on the positive. But with children, we are not doing that. So kind of we also changed our ways, Now what we do is we don't use red color at all. We use different colors. And, we don't put a cross or even circle or a dash. Rather, you put tick. And wherever the child is making a mistake, sit down with them and, explain them and let them rectify it. Rather than we rectifying them.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree to a certain extent, because when I think about it, right, when I start looking at this red pen and correction and all these things, there's so many perspectives. Earlier I used to think, no, it's very important, because I have to tell, mera kaam hai correct karna.
Yes.
So I have to tell where the child is wrong.
Correct.
I have to use red pen, because the school gives me only black or blue or red. I mean, so I have to use red pen, and that's just the way it's been done.
Yes.
And there were also so many other examples that came through saying, agar hum log wo nahi karenge, to my child is not going to build frustration tolerance. My child will become very sensitive and usko hamesha naraz hoga. And I kind of bought into that theory earlier. And now I start believing, like, I mean, there is a time and place for everything.
For everything, yes,
And
I agree.
maybe this is not the time and place for it in the first 3 years of schooling.
Yeah, and it's okay. We should rectify it, but how you do it is more important.
Right.
Right? किसी का self esteem तोड़ के, that doesn't make any sense. Can we build the self esteem and also rectify and make sure that, okay, this is a mistake. We all make mistakes.
And what I'm seeing in that is, like, self-esteem vagara is not infrastructure that makes it. It is the teacher. It is the soft things. It is the culture. You've had some experience around that, or?
Yes, because as I said, infrastructure will
It's
give
an
you
enabler.
admissions.
It's an enabler.
Yeah, it will give you admissions, but if you have the right teacher, children will stay with you. So I think teachers are like the soldiers who are
Yeah.
fighting at the forefront, dealing with children, dealing with parents. So I think what we can also work is how teachers are interacting with children. And that's where we all, like all the teachers here, we did a course called Growth Mindset for Teachers and Learners.
By Carol Dweck, is it?
Yeah, it is a concept by Carol Dweck, but this course is available on other website. And first I did it, and then I found it so useful. Like just how you interact, how you give feedback, how to rectify it, how you praise children, everything. It was a very strong course, and we see a lot of change in children, especially the kind of relation that they have now with teachers is very different, because they are interacting in a particular way. And if you interact in a positive way with children, for example, you say that, okay, I appreciate the efforts that you took to complete the worksheet. Okay. Otherwise, earlier, many schools still do it. We were also doing it. Jaldi finish your homework, or I'll not send, finish your worksheet, or else I'll not send you for play. So
Yeah.
that's like actually
So
blackmailing.
much of violent communication happens, and that's where this whole non-violent communication things come through, right? But I love what you're saying about the growth mindset. What has been your experiences around this growth mindset and teachers? Because it's so difficult to teach teachers this idea of growth mindset is something that I feel like, because we are now kind of praising effort and may not necessarily be praising outcome. Or I don't know if I got it right. Set the record right for me.
Yeah, so one thing is, especially when what we tell teachers, like, good, we generally say, good job. Teachers also are very used to saying, if the child is doing just one thing, and you'll say, good job. But it's a very generic word.
It's like good afternoon.
Yeah. So I think when we praise the child, it has to be more specific on the activity or whatever the child has done. Even if the child has complete just half page, you have to appreciate the efforts that the child putting, whether he's done right or wrong, that can be rectified later, but just the appreciate of attempting to do the worksheet.
Yeah, and I think it goes forward. It's just an extension of the behaviorist theory in many ways, right?
Yes.
Because we are actually then saying, I want to praise the specific positive action that I want to see more of.
Yes.
And I'm encouraging the child to do that more.
Yeah.
And also sort of in a way explicitly stating what is it that he did.
Correct.
And that got noticed, and what gets noticed gets done. Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think
so-
that also works with teachers, because again, what I changed, when I expect teachers to change the interaction with children, I have to change my interactions with teachers also.
Wow, that's more difficult.
Yeah,
Than it
was
sounds.
difficult. Yeah. But it was a very conscious effort. But if I'm expecting something for teachers, from teachers rather, I have to also attempt, right? I have to also do it.
What were these difficult moments you've had? I'm sure you've had difficult moments,
like
right?
even when teacher has done something good, you say, oh, you've done a good job. But rather, I love the way you interacted with that child. You really made him feel special, him or her special. And the teacher feels nice about it. And the teacher is seeing that now I'm not using good job everywhere. So I made conscious decisions and efforts to change my interaction with teachers. Like even when we go for classroom observations, right? We generally... I think we take diaries, all the school leaders take diaries just to see where the teacher is making mistake, right? So what we did kind of changed. And then for feedback, we generally call them to our rooms. But now we are going to their room in their comfortable space, giving them the feedback and focusing more on what good has happened in their class. So that also took a while, because we are so used to, it's deep rooted in our system to first look at the flaws of any individual, any teacher. So that we had to change kind of a bit, because teachers were also scared when someone comes for observation. You can never see teacher
Being happy
themselves.
about it.
Yeah.
It's like Google, right? You'll get what you look for. So if you're looking for faults, you're going to find a lot of it.
Yeah, so kind of either they'll do something, overdo it, okay, or they'll be scared. But I know that this teacher has the capabilities.
Right.
But I know that I'm not seeing the self because she's scared of the feedback. So we
Right.
changed the whole feedback system in
Yeah.
our school.
And if you look at India, right, there is this whole idea that customer is king. Customer is king. जो पैसा देता है ना, वो ये. जो bat लेके आता है, वो captain. That is how it used to be in my building, at least.
Yes.
This guy would come, wo bat leke aaye, and the guy who brings the ball says, "मैं भी मैं ball leke aaye."
Right.
Right? So in that sense, when I look at schools and I think about educational managers and I look at school leaders, there is this constant feeling that I have to make my parents happy. And most of the time, parents are not sure what brings them happiness.
Correct.
And parents don't know what real learning looks like in a pre-primary setup,
Yeah.
in a early learning setup.
Yes.
Because the growth and development generally by nature happens in spurts. You can't see it every day.
Yeah.
And the way that parents don't know that. So I feel like pre-primary schools and early learning schools have to consider two students. एक admission के साथ दो student आता है. एक parent आता है और एक student आता है.
Yes.
Right? Teachers is a whole different ball game altogether because I haven't seen like great training programs available for pre-primary teachers. Okay, in the country, which means a lot of responsibility of the teacher training in pre-primary is now in the shoulders of the pre-primary head or the coordinator or whoever.
Correct.
Somebody who's a school designer. How do we look at parents and what do we tell them and what are those 4, 5, 6, 7 things that every parent today in India should know about joining a preschool, selecting a preschool, deciding to continue in a preschool?
Yeah.
Anything around that will be really nice to know.
First thing is, parents first thing generally ask is कौन सा board अच्छा है?
Board. Blackboard, green board.
So I think they need to first understand what Montessori is. Montessori is a very different methodology. What is multiple intelligence? What is the outcome of it? What is Reggio Emilia? So a little more understanding, a little more reading before you go and select the school. I think that will help parents because now this content is available everywhere. Okay, like for example, Montessori, just to give you an idea, is more about making children independent and giving them activities or expecting them to grow and learn at their own pace. Okay, having said that, they don't force the child to write. Okay, if the child is in a mood or is ready to write, they will give it. Otherwise, you select some other activity. Now, I have selected a Montessori school as a parent. But back in the mind, I'm someone like, nahi, isko aaj 10 page to likhna hi hai. Then there is a clash in the philosophy and then the parent will be unhappy with the school and school will also, parent will go and constantly complain and the school will also not be really happy with the parent. So I think little bit understanding first is you see the distance. Now, like especially in cities like Mumbai and Bangalore, you have to see this distance. So once you see the distance, you see which are the schools available in your vicinity and then see what kind of boards or what kind of philosophies they follow. Boards, uske rules keeps changing. Okay, so by the time your child is in 10th, again it's going to change. So rather look at the philosophy, that learning and teaching philosophy that the school is following. If the school is giving equal weightage to scholastic and co-curricular activities or not. If, for example, if the school is too academics and you are someone who believes in giving an equal balance, then select a school like this because that's where the clash between the parents and the school begins because they are not on the same page.
So it's not about just filling all your admissions, it's about getting the right parents.
Right parents.
It's about, making sure that the expectations are set correctly.
Yeah.
And then building a very transparent, authentic relationship.
Correct.
Like parents can't be like saying, humko ye chahiye, but secretly want something else.
Yeah.
That's like pseudo duplicate.
And then they are not happy. Even when you have orientation, instead of telling your school rules, which they can read it, share your beliefs, share your philosophy, with your parents that, okay, we do, for example, we start, like our school, we do not have any competitions in pre-primary. Like even sports day, everyone gets a medal. That's a belief of the school that we do not want to create competition right now where they
At that level.
Yeah, where they are learning certain skills. Abhi bhagne ke liye to abhi seekhe hai. And you cannot expect them to get onto the race. But grade 1 and above has it. And
so many times in schools, I've actually noticed that sometimes like children are, every school expects children to be children and bacche nice and cute till they are in senior KG. And in first standard, suddenly you just expect them to be like adults.
Yeah.
Or deal very differently. Like, have you seen that? And how do you counter something like that? And, I don't know. Like in senior KG, there's personalized attention, individual attention, everything. Classrooms are so colorful and everything is
so
nice.
Movement.
Yeah, there's no movement and this and that and competition. Zoop first standard, everything is like gone.
Yes, I think it's very common in most of the K-12 schools. But as I said, we have evolved. We are also learning. So, couple of ideas that we get. What we do is that in UKG itself, UKG, senior KG, whatever you say, we kind of have a session for only UKG parents, maybe in Jan and Feb, to explain them the expectations of what is going to happen in grade one. So, for example, the school timings also change, right? From right now it's 9 to 12:30 to 8 to 3:30. It's a long time. So, how can parents start preparing the children certain points, like how to make them wake up, how to get them ready? Because right now, as soon as children leave, the parents are taking the bag from their shoulder, but these
Yeah,
small small
I've seen
these
that.
small changes needs to be kind of addressed to the parents. So we generally inform that in that session, and what kind of subjects they are. So once parents are pretty much aware of what is going to happen, and if you guide them and give them some strategies that they can do on how to get children ready for grade 1, I think that makes a lot of difference. Secondly, also getting teachers ready. Why I say teachers ready is because right now they also consider them as a very kindergarten children and all that. But post December, like if when I mean we start June, we start the new academic year. So after December, what happens is we have to change the way we interact with children, expecting them to be a little more independent. Bring your own book, put it in the bag, open your own boxes, eat. All those things in the school also has to be changed. We also take them to grade 1 classes, show them this is your space will be,
This is your future, bacha.
and introduce them to teachers, show them all the space around. It only makes them feel less anxious on the first day of the school. And even grade 1 also strives really hard. They have for 2 months a good bridging program. So they give them an option, instead of starting immediately 8 to 3:30, first day keep it 12:30, then increase to 1:30, and slowly. So I think at home and at school, if these changes are made, I think expectations can be set more clear.
That's really nice to know that. And so much again and again comes down to again teachers.
Yes.
Teachers in the classroom, teachers who are there.
Yeah.
And then how do we tackle teachers getting getting better jobs, teachers leaving? How do we hack teacher training? How do we hack how a teacher should perform in the classroom? And because when teachers come from other schools with different philosophies, different methodologies, oriented towards different goals, how do we then make them part of our culture, and how do we ingrain them? How much time does that take? I always wonder, does it take 6 months for a teacher? Does it take 1 year for a teacher? Or does it take like 3 weeks for a teacher? Or does it take that first experience that the teacher had?
Yeah.
And saying like, oh, idhar aisa nahi hota hai.
Oh, nahi hota
Yeah,
hai.
idhar aisa hota hai, or something like that,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So is there any, have you had any experiences around these things, in terms of teacher development? Yeah.
Yeah. So initially, what we were doing, I think most
And
schools
especially in early years.
early years, yes. So initially, we were also doing, like, when we organize a teachers workshop, we do it for everyone.
Right.
So what happens is now like I have at least 20-30% of teachers who are there from day one with me. Now they have attended so many workshops over the years. Especially we follow multiple intelligence, so we've been doing lot of workshops on that. Now those teachers are very very thorough about it. You can't expect them to keep attending those workshops. So I think when you give that individual attention to children, why can't we give that individual attention to teachers also, on their needs, on their knowledge, on their experience? So one thing is, I think professional development now has to get a little more individualized based on what teacher first herself really wants to learn. Second, what skills she needs to develop. So what we can do is, I got this idea from one of the principals I met, and she said, why don't you have your teachers who've done multiple intelligence workshop for so many years do it for other teachers? So that's how it gets transferred from one teacher to another, and it becomes, you are making the teacher who is so loyal to you for so many years, you're making them feel valued, because they are sharing now, they feel like a leader themselves. And I think that has also help us retain them for long. Secondly, I think sometimes workshops also happens like overdone, so then this year we started with something called one-on-one mentoring for teachers, and mentors are no one but teachers among themselves only. And my idea was to get them more responsible for their own learning. Now school leaders will keep sharing reading articles, books, everything with teachers, but unless the teacher wants to really learn or work on her skills, how, it doesn't make any sense if you are just sharing it. So what we did was, we actually did like a chits. We wrote every teacher's name, you come pick up, they become mentors of each other. And first term they will first discuss with each other what are their strengths, okay, and what are the areas that they feel they want to work first. And it need not be related completely to teaching. It could be communication, it could be improving my English, improving my vocabulary. But if you actually see, everything can be used in the classroom. And this way they give each other task, so they become mentors for each other now.
Absolutely. And this is about 6 years ago I built a mobile app called Project Rise. I got an award from Narayan Murthy sir, and it's been a great experience because I was propagating this exact same thing. I'm saying like the best person to train my teachers are going to be my teachers. And that allows them vertical mobility.
Yes.
And I called it Project Rise, Real Improvement Support for Educators.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I built a mobile app, and it's completely based on individual coaching. So I set up these coaching standards, and then people just hold each other accountable.
Okay.
Using the mobile app, we were doing lesson observations, and it used to work brilliantly. It works like a cooperative where everyone is working together to make each other, better. Because teaching is teamwork.
Yes.
Teaching is not individual work.
No.
You could have class 1, the first period, the teacher come and set this whole growth mindset, and the second period, teacher could come and destroy the whole thing.
I agree. I agree. Yes.
And so it's teamwork. It's
Yes.
everyone playing the same note. It's everyone playing the same like scale and things like that.
Yeah.
So and that eventually then moves towards building professional learning communities within our school.
Yes.
And that's what we want to do. Like
Yeah.
building these professional learning communities. So I'll be super happy to share that mobile app with you, that process with you.
Sure.
I'm also actually starting like this cohort-based program. I'm going to get principals across India to
that's
get
nice.
into a 1-month hackathon with me. I want to teach you how to do that. But that's lovely because this is for the first time, literally for the first time in 6 years that a school leader has told this to me, saying, "Nahi yaar, yahi chalta hai." Because people have been workshopped and workshopped. And every Saturday, they know the principal has gone for a workshop. Monday, teachers are like, "Oh my God, I don't know what she's going to come back and tell us."
Yeah. I know. I know.
The rate of change is so high, and then no one's taking any accountability and responsibility for that.
Yes.
With the new NEP coming in, people are talking about a lot of things that we already knew, like
Yes.
from nursery to grade 3, child learns to read and then reads to learn, right? So when I was in school, there was choral reading, there was guided reading, there was independent reading, there was so much work on reading.
Yes.
And I've realized in schools now, teachers don't know to teach reading. Reading. You pick up an English book, which is supposed to teach you the language English.
Yeah.
All the text in the English book looks like a value education.
I agree.
So, yes, it's great to use English to teach the values and the morals, but how is there any serious language teaching happening in pre-primary, primary? Have you seen something like that? Throw some light on that.
Yeah, so it's a progression here. When children come to us at the age of 3 years, right? Nursery, any preschool, it's mostly 3 years. They've come from home, and in India, not every house speaks English. Okay, so and especially here again in Bangalore, it's now become more cosmos. So you will have like a Hindi and Kannada speaking, Tamil speaking, everyone in one class. So what what we believe is, and I think other preschools can do, because language is the first thing the child will connect with you also, or connect with school. So, and it's nice for language development also, because I think we all have heard that it's actually more beneficial when a child first learns their own mother tongue and then starts speaking English. So when children come to us in 3, you cannot expect them to know English completely. So what we do is, the first group instruction is given like in English, and then we give one-on-one instruction if we know, generally in first week of school academic year, we come to know that okay, this particular child does not understand English, so we go and understand what their mother tongue is. And if the teacher is able to speak well and good, it's like wow. But if teacher is not from that, not speaking that language, then we pick up some important words like what is water, what is washroom, at least these important words in their language, so that teacher can connect and also understand. So that happens in nursery, and by the end of the academic year they also understand that okay, pani is in Hindi and water is in English, so they start comparing the two language. And then when they come in K1, then your reading starts. We follow phonetics program, right? So they start reading text. We blend them, we show them how to blend and how to read, and how to use it. And then we just not the text, but we ask them, when you're moving outside, go read the boards. That's how they also know, okay, reading the sirf book ke liye nahi hai, it is more to learn. So that is one thing that we follow. And we do not even discourage parents. Sometimes parents also don't come from, they can't understand or speak English. So we tell them that it's okay if you're not able to, just be open to us, tell us that no, we don't know English, so we know we can put a little more effort with that child, because understanding of language and then reading of language is so important. And even parents, when they come to us, if they're not comfortable, we actually start talking to them in their mother tongue. And thankfully it's always nice to have a mixed bag of teachers. Like we have Hindi speaking and Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Marathi, we have everyone. So somewhere someone will connect. So language development in pre-primary is extremely
Super
important.
critical. No?
Yeah, super critical, because I think that's the core. So rather than just focusing on, it's a skill, reading is a skill. Don't push them, okay, aaj ye full ek page padhna hai. No, even if the child is reading one sentence, it's okay. Motivate them to read more. We do a lot of other activities, like just to encourage or inculcate the habit of reading in them. Oh, let's read that one. We all will read one sentence from the storybook and we'll go kick a ball and come. So, children enjoy, okay, I like reading, and then they slowly develop the habit of reading. So we pay a lot of attention on reading, and that's why, because if teachers are not reading, how can you expect children to read?
Exactly.
So for teachers, every month we share like an article or a chapter from any book.
Selected reading.
Yeah, selective reading. And then we ask them to share, like, we have a document which is shared with all the teachers of what is their understanding and what are they going to implement from this in their classroom. So this month is more about classroom observations and how to take feedback, how to give feedback. So we gave a chapter about how feedback can help themselves, so that they are a little more open to taking feedback. So based on which part of the academic year we are in, we kind of take that. Some teachers take it very positively, and we've seen that growth in them. And then we see that growth happening in the class children also. Some teachers take it like an added work. But still, I always get good feedback that no, the content, I think what we share with teachers is also very important. And similarly, the content that we select for children to read is also extremely important. Just picking up any storybook,
it's not going to work.
yeah.
This is amazing. We had such a great conversation with you today, because
Yes.
really early years is something that is going to make all the difference, right?
Yes.
A lot of the child's worldview, self-concept, self-image, a lot of what the child thinks is possible, is achievable. In many cases, I feel even his or her whole orientation and love for school and learning kind of gets set in the early years, and there's so much more work that we need to do in the early years.
Yes.
But it's been amazing chatting up with you today, and talking about these things. I think parents have to really, parents who are looking at preschools need to really become active,
Yes.
shoppers,
Yes.
in that sense, and really take the right calls, because the payback for a good early learning program, really you reap the benefits for years and years and years. In fact, there was an article that said that in California, in the state of California, they could actually predict the number of prison cells that they need to build,
Okay.
based on the quality of early learning programs that are available in the country.
Wow.
They could actually do that because when somebody commits a crime and you want to send them to a jail, a prison has to be ready and vacant,
Yes.
and that's a statistical calculation. And they found that the most statistically significant or the most reliable data point was a particular metric,
Huh.
which is the quality of preschooling and the quality of early years education in that
Okay.
state. And that was a direct correlation between the number of cells that they need to build. So they would actually then, so some governor actually said, do we want to be increasing our budgets for making more prisons, or should we be increasing the budgets to improve the quality of early learning education?
Yes.
In the state of our country. So amazing. Greshma Momaya, thank you so much for being with us today, and we really hope that you continue to do phenomenal work in the field of early years.
Thank you, Willie, so much for inviting me for the podcast. It was my first experience, and I'm glad that I had a good experience of shooting the podcast. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.